Welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast. This is where we have motivational, inspiring conversations and interviews that we hope you'll enjoy listening to. If you're interested in creating more balance in your life, understanding your 5-element energetic nature, finding the path of greatest ease,
or releasing the baggage of this lifetime and discovering ancient alchemy that can help you fly in your life, join us and other inspired actioneers on this alchemical, transformational journey.
Welcome back to the Inspired Action Podcast. My name is Jay, and this is pod number 76, and I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Lita Herman.
Welcome back, Inspired Actioneers. So today, we're still in the midst of this global pandemic, and as the world is contemplating how to reopen the economy, we are inspired today to have a very interesting conversation about how our bodies can be the healthiest they can be when things open up again.
I know we could do this podcast on like so many different topics. There's so much going on in the world. And if you've been hunkering down in the shelter at home, stay at home, isolation tank of your house,
Right.
It might be a bit scary to go back out, open that door, stick your foot out the door and go back into the world. So how do we do that in the very best way, Lita? What are you thinking about?
Well, in Chinese medicine, we say that this is about the role of our energetic defense mechanism.
System. I can add that. It sounds like the emergency broadcasting system.
Yes.
The energetic defense mechanism system. This is like if you're experiencing the following symptoms: excess worry, excess hand washing,
Excess news consumption.
Antisocial social distancing. Okay, then more excessive hand washing. It sounds like a malfunction of the energetic defense system mechanism.
Yeah.
So tell us what that is.
Yes,
My joking around.
So true. And if this is you, please continue to listen to this podcast.
And wash your hands more.
Yes.
Until it's not malfunctioning.
Right.
So what does that actually mean, Lita?
So our defensive Qi mechanism is what protects us from external pathogens invading our body, like the coronavirus.
Well, the body snatchers.
Or the body, yes, or the body snatchers. So we are in this constant state of protection all the time, no matter whether there's an invader out there. But we need to be in that state without fear because the energetic defensive mechanism works best when when there's not so much involvement of your mind in it. It's an autonomic system. It's involuntary, meaning it works best when you're not thinking about it.
So the fear we're all feeling, the anxiety as a result of protecting ourselves from the coronavirus or COVID-19 or anything else out there, including the invasion of the body snatchers.
Yes.
It's real. It's a movie. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. A little blast in the past. This can actually make us more vulnerable to the illness.
Yes. On the whole, being in a state of fear is not a healthy state. Our immune system actually works better when we feel confident about our health and our current situation. It's like, are you doing things that make you feel safer? That's what we're looking at. So the inspiration of the podcast today is about all this protection going on right now. And one of the earliest concepts we put forth in this podcast is, air quotes, the best protection is no protection. Remember that,
That's
Jay?
true.
Yeah. So it's the theme of the second stage of alchemy.
Lita, sometimes it's a very difficult concept for people to grasp, and especially now in this global pandemic shutdown, the best protection is no protection. Okay, I get that. Everyone can understand that, but we're supposed to be wearing masks and hazmat suits and rubber gloves. How can you feel safe if you're covering it all up with this protection?
Right. So there are reasons that are very valid and good to be shut down or sheltering in place and protecting society overall. But at the same time, we need to examine ourselves and why we're doing what we're doing and how we feel about what we're doing.
Yeah. And, I'm not saying don't wear a mask, don't wear a hazmat suit, don't wear your PPE, whatever you have.
No.
It seems to be oddly opposing arguments out there, whether or not we should crank up the economy and put human lives at stake, which seems just crazy to me. And it seems like what you're saying from both sides is a valid point. Like, we have to do the economy, we have to do the health concerns. No protection would mean open up the economy, let people go back to work, but if we sit home at fear and just let it fester and manifest and grow and grow and grow, then that's not helping our immune system. It's not helping our defensive system because now we're protecting.
Right.
So if we go out and spread the virus on a mass scale, that's going to create even more fear too. I mean, so
Exactly.
I don't see the win-win. I'm struggling with it. You know,
Yes.
it's definitely something each of us can contemplate on our own.
Yes.
But I'm trying to come at it from an energetic, 5 elements, 9 palace, and alchemy standpoint, the 3 that I always combine for my understanding of things. So
Yes.
I know you don't have the answer, but let's kind of pry this open a little bit and see where we can come up. And I like this whole energetic defensive chi mechanism system.
Yes. Yes.
So let's
And-
go with that for today.
and
'Cause
I'm
we could
going-
do like 10 podcasts on this, but
Yes.
there's a lot of different nuances. You can't just say take off the mask. You can't just say go back to work. You can't just say stay home.
Yes.
It's very complicated.
So before we go on to the energetic defensive chi mechanism, I just want to point out stage 2 of alchemy. When you say the best protection is no protection, I always say that's a tall order because it's about loving yourself so deeply that you feel invincible internally. And so you're doing all the things you need to do that are smart and safe.
But you're vulnerable.
Right.
You're
You're
also
vulnerable,
vulnerable.
like in a way that you can take on anything that's coming towards you because you're not putting up armor and unnecessary protection.
Absolutely.
It's a really tough concept, and hopefully today we'll get
Is
get
that
you
a key to
familiar with this.
understanding the energetic defense
Yes.
mechanism system?
Yes, which-
I can't help it. I have to add that.
Yes, which we
siren.
call, there's a name for it. We call it the Wei Qi system.
No way.
Wei.
No way.
Wei.
Okay, way as in WEI, right?
Yes, WEI. So it's the best translation for this type of chi, which, we call defensive chi, but we could also call it protective chi. And that
For this particular podcast, right?
Right,
Okay.
because Wei Qi deals with everything external to you, everything outside your body. And defensive chi or Wei Qi works autonomically.
So it's not something your intelligence actually governs over.
Yes.
You don't tell your body to go out and sweat when you run. It just starts sweating
Yes.
as a byproduct. You start running, and then, by the way, your body heats up. You start breathing heavy. Systems get turned on. Things get turned off. Things start, activating. And guess what? You start breathing more, sweating more, and you're sweating. You don't say, I'm going to just go sweat.
Yeah, it's
it's
part
part
of-
of our intrinsic nature.
Yeah.
So when your body heats up or gets overheated, guess what? You sweat. And when you get cold and you're freezing, you get the chills. It's psychological. It's physiological.
Yes, it's not a pathology in any way. In fact, when your body encounters something like a virus, like the coronavirus, it's the Wei Qi's job to protect your exterior. And in most cases, you don't even get sick at all.
Yeah, those are the lucky asymptomatic, lucky people out there who don't even know they're carrying it. However, it's a double-edged sword, right?
Yes, because they get everyone else sick.
That's right. And they might definitely be getting their family, their friends, their
Yes.
coworkers, their loved
Yes.
ones. And they're like, screw
Yeah.
those masks. We don't need them. Chuck them.
Some people have really strong immune systems. So even in those people where the virus is taking a ride on them, basically, those
a free
asymptomatic
ride.
people, not a bit of it is getting into them. They don't even get a sniffle.
Yeah, and then what happens if the virus breaks out or whatever germ, bacteria that they're actually carrying? What happens, Lita, if that breaks through the barrier?
Yes, the Wei Qi system isn't just the barrier on the exterior. It's also the first responders in your body.
Like the EMTs?
Yeah, the EMTs, ambulance
Weep,
comes in.
weep.
Yes.
That's my new siren. Weep, weep, weep.
It's there to fight back any invaders quickly and efficiently so that nothing gets in deeper.
Yeah, we don't want anything getting into that inner sanctum of our bodies. So even if your castle walls, we're using a lot of metaphors here.
Yes.
So even if your castle walls are infiltrated, there are other defensive walls to stop these intruders. We want to stop stuff. I'm going to go one more. We're going to stop it at the moat. Okay,
Right.
before it even gets to the castle walls and goes in further. So load up the moat, dig the moat, get the dragons, set it up and keep the intruders out.
Yes. And so the Wei Qi system is very complex.
Oh, obviously, moats and dragons and
Yeah,
walls and
you've got
scaling
it.
and all that stuff.
You've totally
Yeah.
got it. And we've talked about some acupressure and gua sha strategies you can use to help your Wei Qi system back in Pod 73. So you might remember that we talked about all this. And the goals of those strategies strategies is to get your Wei Qi system to kick out the invaders before they go deep.
I know my secret weapon is gua sha, and I do it almost daily on the back of my neck. And I know you do it as well, Lita.
Yes.
We do Jingwell points, and it works for me. It works for you. It works
Yes.
for a lot of people that we've talked about this with. You know, it seems like the simplest thing can do a lot of really good work. You know, so many times when you go outside these days, maybe to the grocery store or to the gas station or wherever, the garden store, wherever you're doing your thing, you know, you just kind of like psych yourself out like, did I just ruin all my quarantine and all my stuff? But you know what? For me, I do a little gua sha. I'm doing some preventative Chinese herbs. You know, that for me makes me feel psychologically at ease, knowing that I'm doing a little bit without worrying, without putting up this big protection.
Yes, that's so true. And here's another thing, and the real focus of today, Wei Qi can also be offensive. That sounds
okay,
like
now you're like, really? Okay, defensive, offensive, defensive, offensive, defensive. Oh, make up your mind.
There is a thing. It's called offensive Qi, and this is like a Wei Qi system out of control. So everyone keeps talking about, let's boost your immune system. But, many of us don't realize that can make your immune system overactive, which is just as bad as an underachiever immune system. So we want an immune system that neither overreacts or underreacts to a threat. And especially to perceived but not actual threat, like in your case, worrying about going out grocery shopping, because the activation of the immune system is sometimes worse than the actual disease.
Yeah, so in other words, if you get all wiggly and freaked about going to the grocery store, or if somebody's not 3 to 4 feet instead of 6 to 9 feet away, and you get they coughing, I heard that, I looked at me, this could make a lot of symptoms kind of magnify in your mind, perhaps, and then we don't actually know what's going on. So I've been really working on staying calm, moving along, there's, just keep moving and not really thinking about it. But I do see a lot of people who are freaked out. Yes. So don't react, stay calm.
Yeah, exactly.
And know that you have good defense.
Right. Our podcast.
Which is no defense.
Right. And our podcast today is about a key component to staying really healthy in this crazy time. And that is helping that immune system stay calm so we don't create offensive Qi, which is being in a constant state of resistance.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about resistance and, how it's not great for our overall health. And, I really feel like a lot of people are in this resistance mode right now. We have to kind of switch that. We have to think a new way. We have to let things go. And I'm not saying ignore the news. And I'm not saying, like I already said, chuck the mask or the hazmat suit or whatever. It's not about that, but you need to make up your own mind what's good for you and then stick with that, live with that, feel that in your body. And that's the great thing. Keep it up. Keep it really good for you. And don't worry about everyone else. There's only one person you can really control, yourself.
Right. And, if listening to the news is making you wig out, then maybe you should not listen so much to the news.
Well, I really think that on some level, it's mostly an onslaught of the bad news out there and these mainstream outlets. They're just hammering us. And a lot of times I think consuming the news is kind of like our natural response to feel resistance.
Yes. So just as our Wei Qi is like our best friend when it comes to, a good defensive line of backers.
Are you trying to make a football joke,
I think
Lita?
I am.
Do you mean linebackers?
Yes, that's what I meant.
Well, not really, but kind of. Okay, so linebackers, the people that defend the quarterback.
Right, those guys. But it's a good analogy, whatever they're called. Let's say defensive linebackers.
They're big and strong and they protect, yes.
Right. They make a great
They also
Wei
grunt
Qi.
a lot.
They do. They make a great Wei Qi defensive line because it's what confronts and produces change, but it's not a great offensive line. Those guys don't play
different
offense.
Skills. That's why in football, the guy who's on the defense are not always on the offense. So wait, Lita. You got it backwards. The offensive line protects the quarterback. The defensive line attacks the opposing team's quarterback.
Oh, no. Okay,
I got to teach you a little bit of football. I'm like, wait a minute. You got this backwards. Offensive line protects.
This is how much I know about football.
You've watched some football, but apparently you're not paying attention. The defense is not the same as the offense. They're different players, they're different roles, they're different jobs.
The point I was trying to make is the same guys that defend the quarterback who evidently are the offending
yeah,
team.
offense.
Okay.
So the offense defends.
Jeez Louise.
And
Why
the
can't they make
defense
this
attacks.
easy? Okay. But the point is, you don't want the same... You don't want the defense and the... Oh, anyway. All right, forget that
because
analogy.
then the Wei Qi becomes offensive. And
Right. You don't want offensive Qi. Let's
Yes.
put it that way. Okay. So when the Wei Qi becomes offensive,
There you
it's
go.
because you've decided you don't want to change in any way. And so if you don't want to change anything in your life, that's when you've become resistant to change.
That sounds good to me. Who wants change anyways? No, I'm just kidding. Change is good. Wait, do I hear another Star Trek? Borg in the making. Resistance is futile.
Resistance is futile.
Okay, so resistance to change is futile.
How many
We
times
all have
have
to
we done
change.
that?
We all have to go with the flow. We have to adapt or die. We could do a whole podcast on that. Adapt or die.
Yes.
That could be a whole Star Trek episode.
Yes, yes. And, the jokes are hard to resist.
Yes, jokes are hard. Resistance is futile.
Right.
Try to stop me.
Are you being resistant to our conversation about resistance to change?
Hey, wait, now you might be onto something, okay? That is one of the symptoms of offensive Qi. It's the people who, if you say something to them, they're going to argue with them because they simply want to be resistant to your argument.
Yes.
They don't really care. They're just being resistant to resistance, I guess. They're going to debate you no matter what. And we all have people like that. Boy, they've come out of the woodworks right now.
Yes.
Well, maybe they're just terrified that change could mean getting sick or dying,
Right.
or they could lose something that they really feel is precious to their protection in their life. I'm not going to say the word, but
Yes.
they like their ownership of these little devices that hurt people.
Oh,
They don't want
right.
any change whatsoever that could infringe upon their rights.
Yes, and if they're like that, that means their Wei Qi is kind of out of control. It's being constantly in a state of resistance to a constant state of threat all around you. So if this
Boy,
is
we're
happening,
really in that right now.
yeah, I mean, if this is happening to you, you're not alone. This is happening to all sorts of people, no matter what your politics are, no matter what your opinion
But
is.
I do
about-
think it rises exponentially the more news you watch.
Yes, and
It's called the Fox factor.
we're the
It
Fox
raises
factor.
exponentially the more you watch Fox News. Just joking, Foxers. You know who you are.
Especially, in the middle of a pandemic, it's really important that you be honest with yourself about this.
Wait, I just got to say, I'm almost guaranteed there's no Fox News listeners listening to this podcast.
That's probably true.
We have no Foxers. But if
you
we do,
are-
we love you.
If you are, join us on the podcast group and talk to us.
Right.
We are open to discussions.
But
we
be
love
nice.
It. Yeah, some of
Be
our
nice.
best friends are of different political persuasions. So anyway,
It used to be sexual persuasion.
know,
now it's
now it's
political.
political.
But that's okay because that's a good sharing of thoughts and opinions.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
okay, I was saying it's really important to be honest with yourself because when your Wei Qi system becomes offensive, it's no longer helping you. So if you feel this way, you need to own up to it. Like we said earlier, it's not just about boosting your weakened immune system. We're actually more concerned about a very aggravated immune system than a weak immune system.
we've all heard that coming. It's that cytokine. How do you say it?
Cytokine.
Cytokine storm. Okay, it's the Rhode Island accent. The cytokine storm.
The Rhode Island accent that
Yeah, we don't have that. in Rhode Island.
reverses consonants in the middle of words.
That's right. We're constantly changing. How's that?
Oh, because you're not resistant to change.
right.
That's awesome. So the cytokine storms that can happen, that is an aggravated, offensive Qi system, and it's going to cause more illness. We've seen it in the news reports. There's more illness with people that have that. So it shows that your body is fighting and fighting and fighting, and even when there's nothing out there to fight against because you don't have a virus, that's not good.
Yeah, you could maybe think of it as kind of living out of time and not being present in the moment. Because if you think about it right here, right now, today, you actually feel pretty good. You have no symptoms. Your energy's level. You have a good lifestyle. You're sheltering in place. You're staying home. You're getting groceries delivered. You're isolated. Things seem to be okay. So really, this isn't the time to fight. This isn't the time to crank up that immune system. We really just kind of like be in the present moment and be okay with that. That's all hard for a lot of people.
And here's another analogy for you, Jay. In the clinic over the years, I get a lot of little children in my practice who have these insane reactions to things like poison ivy. And they don't, just get a little patch here and a little patch there, like most people who get poison ivy rashes. Instead, their bodies go into total freak out mode and their whole bodies get covered with poison ivy rashes. Their eyes swell up. They sometimes even have to go to the hospital. Now, these kids have offensive qi. It's not just a normal Wei Qi reaction to get that rash everywhere. That's the immune system overreacting. And it's kind of like this offensive qi can go even further, and people can even get autoimmune diseases because at some point your body turns inward on itself and starts attacking itself because there really isn't anything to fight, so you start fighting yourself.
Is that like overreacting, or is that like, I don't want to say like hypochondria, but like it's just these symptoms that keep growing in your mind?
It can be, or it's just the system is
Breaking
really
down?
upset due to fear, due to anxiety.
Okay.
So actually, what we want is to make sure that we have a balance of our Wei Qi, enough Wei Qi so we can easily defend our exterior, but not so much Wei Qi that our reaction to things is over the top. In fact, some of these COVID-19 cases that went wrong so quickly are likely to be the people who have these offensive qi systems. The resistance to change in them is so extreme that their bodies go into a kind of state of shock.
Yeah, it is kind of like frightening how fast things switch in some people when they have this COVID-19. So, all right, Lena, how do we strike the balance? What's the best frame of mind internally to have about this external global pandemic? How would someone find a balance, a harmony? One of our favorite words. We've been talking about it all week long,
Yes.
about harmony, how to be awake but not alarmed. What is the best stance? How do we go about this in a non-panic of the pandemic?
I'm so glad you asked. So we've been
Dun-dun-dun.
we've been thinking a lot about this. The best stance is to lessen the amount of worry you're having. Worry is always about something in the future. And if it's in the now moment, well, there's nothing to worry about right now, right? Unless, maybe you're out, working in a hospital or an EMT, you're going to be right in the
A lot of
midst
first
of it.
responders
Yeah.
and emergency room doctors and, even nursing homes, like everyone who's out there in the world doing stuff.
But they have to face this too. Whenever you ask the question, what if, then you have worry, fear, and resistance. The worry arouses the resistance in your body, and then that can be the start of illness. Maybe not even the coronavirus, but some other kind of illness.
Which is probably more likely.
Yeah.
And then as that weakens you, then you could be more susceptible to other things as
Yeah.
well. So Wei Qi is a very important concept for all of us to understand, especially right now. So we're going to have some homework coming up in a little bit. So, but how do we trust the tools that we have, that we've been teaching, that we've been working on in our own lives, and have the ability to defend our exterior without trying to be offensive? Like in the offensive line. Remember the offensive line?
the defensive
That's
line, right?
So how do we do that, Lita? How do we do that?
I'm so glad I learned more about football today. This is so
Yes.
enlightening.
Or think about it. Okay, Tom Brady, he's the quarterback. He's got the offensive line. If he had to worry about being attacked, he would not be effective.
There you go.
He has to let go of the worry completely,
Yes.
be in that moment, look for that razor's edge to throw it down the little tiny spot that he has to get.
Yes.
He can't be worried. You
No.
can tell when the quarterbacks are worried. They fall down, they throw really bad, they're like just horrible.
Yes.
Okay, so he trusts his offensive line completely.
And that was my next point. In a way, in ourselves, we have to be more accepting, more yielding. We have to be willing to deal with the challenges and with the changes that come our way, but without fear. And if we accept that change as a natural criteria of our human existence, then our Wei Qi will flow very smoothly. We think we want things to last the way they are forever if we like them, but honestly, that's not even true. Think how bored you'd be if life was always the same. Change is good.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And sometimes change is hard for a lot of people, but if you're fighting change, get that. If you're fighting change because of the previous situation, then tomorrow you're trying to get to your past, yesterday, to last forever, and you're bringing it up every day in your mind. So that's a little I'm going to say that again. So if you're fighting change because you like the previous situation, which is that day or maybe something in the past, then tomorrow you're trying to get your past to last forever. It doesn't even, you got to be in the moment. Then you bring it up every day in your mind and your consciousness. You're stuck. Actually, you don't want change. You're stuck. So you're not able to let it go.
Yes.
That's
remember,
our first meditation. Letting
that's
go.
Our theme. Letting go meditation.
Go. Okay, I'll do it. Letting go. Let it go.
There you go.
Like a Frozen. Frozen. How many people out there have watched Frozen 1 and Frozen 2 like 100 times on this lockdown?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's good.
Let us go. Let us go outside.
Great.
Okay, so if you're not able to let it go, if you're holding on to it, that is going to cause havoc in the systems.
And from a Chinese medicine point of view,
which we love,
letting go is the virtue of our lungs.
Isn't that just ironic? It's just like crazy,
I know,
right?
Because
lungs,
it's all of COVID-19 attacks the lungs.
Yep.
So to let go so that new things can happen, that's a state of relaxation, which when you're having this offensive qi, by the way, you never allow your body to be in a state of relaxation.
And that's an extremely important point and a question you can ask yourself right now. All right, when you're done listening to the podcast.
Yes.
Are you allowing yourself to truly relax? Are you able to sleep deeply at night? Are you awake all night, tossing and turning and worrying? If not, this pandemic might be triggering your offensive qi and more, and more, and more, and more. And it's just going to start rolling like the ball rolling down the hill. The boulder, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Or it just rolls things over. If it's a snowball, it gets bigger and bigger.
Yes.
If it's a boulder, it just squashes everything. Okay, this is just like all right, I'll go another way, a domino effect.
The domino effect,
okay?
Totally.
Click, 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 click.
Totally. And it might be helpful to allow me to get a little more philosophical here. Is that okay?
Sure. Why not? Today's been very philosophical.
Yes.
Kind of.
One of our favorite alchemists, Gohung.
Gohung in the house.
He was the champion of simplicity.
Yes.
And I think his philosophy is very helpful for times like this.
Okay, I'm hanging on the edge of my seat. I love a good Gohung story. Go on. You got me hanging here. I'm hanging on a line.
Okay.
Wait, I'm hanging on the edge of my seat. I missed that one. Okay, talk about Gohung.
Okay, well, in Chinese medicine, we have three major components to how we are challenged in life. External stuff outside of us, internal, our emotional state inside, and constitutional, which is whatever you were born with. So every quote unquote problem,
challenge.
Yes, I did say problem, but definitely challenge. Every challenge can be grouped into one of these categories.
We should have led with this.
Yes.
But go ahead.
Does it come from the outside, like the coronavirus? Or is it generated from our internal world, our emotions and reactions to the outer world? Or does it come from our ancestral lineage, our DNA, so to speak? So you can think of the constitutional part as the first component. It represents who you were when you were born, your existence before there was anything internal or external influencing you. It's what you were born with. So that gives us the number one, like in numerology.
Chinese numerology, they love to number everything. One is not the loneliest number. Okay, look at 5 elements, 9 palaces, 9 stages of alchemy, 12 so
we have so many numbers. Numbers. One is not the loneliest number.
One is not the loneliest number. But it's all about you with a capital Y. Sorry, I'm sorry, I had to interject that. Sorry.
Yes.
One is not the loneliest number.
Okay. Anyone who knows Chinese numerology knows we equate the number one with the Tao itself, or we might even call it God or the divine or source. But in this case, it's you, like when you were in utero, before anything messed you up, like the moment you were born.
Did you just do like a little messed you up? Oh my God.
So it's like the moment you were born. It's the perfection of you.
How about Born Perfect?
Yes.
Which is the name of our forthcoming book for sometime in 2020. That's a shameless plug, but you just said Perfection of You made me think of Born Perfect. How often does that actually happen? The title of the book makes it into the conversation.
Yes.
So Born Perfect coming, bookstore near you, 2020.
We hope.
We hope.
Okay, so that's the constitutional component. And then you're born and you start to have an interaction with the external world. There's your parents, maybe your siblings, and the weather and noises and all this stuff outside of you.
And then you begin to mature and start to observe that the external world, and you have reactions to it. And I always like you're connecting with nature. Mm-hmm. You're having experience. And then you start to think.
Yes, and that's the problem. Therein lies the problem or the challenge. And through thinking, you now have internal reactions to the world that you've created completely. Each of us responds differently to the external world. So it's completely on you how you feel about the external world.
Yeah, it could be something completely imagined or, there or not there. Some of us are in opposition to our external world. I see it a lot, especially if there is a real disconnect to nature. And others of us are very accommodating to the external world. They go with the flow. They don't have judgments. That's another thing we've been talking about all week. No judgments.
Yes. So in terms of Chinese numerology, again, when we experience the internal and the external worlds, we call both of those the number 2, which is what we call yin and yang. Yang is the external world, and it's all about our defensive Wei Qi system. And yin is our eternal world, which is another kind of qi that we probably should explain too. And that qi is called ying qi, Y-I-N-G, yin qi or nutritive qi. It's the qi that nourishes us, the organs of our body. It's associated with our blood and our mind, or specifically what our minds think about the external world around us.
In the case of your mind trying to hang on to the past, your yin qi can help us relax during this time of craziness in the outside world. It really is something to try to understand right now.
Yes, it's the qi of our thoughts and our
So
memories.
let's bring on the yin qi.
Yes, bring
it on.
the yin qi. So it's our qi of our thoughts and our memories. So we might be able to soothe ourselves despite the news and everything stirring up our Wei Qi system and say, it's going to be all right.
Or we might choose to take on the offensive position because we remember a time in the past that we're trying to avoid. So our Wei Qi is responding to the memories we stored in the blood in a negative way. You got to let that go. You got to change it. You got to bring on the yin qi. So it's not always the yin qi that soothes us, but it has to all come together.
Yes. So this relationship of your yang or your Wei Qi and your yin or your yin Qi is still the number 2, the inner and outer. And that relationship then results in the number 3. We're doing Chinese numerology.
Yay!
So the number 3 is...
You got to stop because I can't count past 9. So.
The number 3 is
No, I
harmony.
love 10 and 11 and 12.
The number 3 is harmonization. And that's what we're talking about in this case.
All right. So how, Lita, how can we harmonize the outer and the inner worlds? How can we bring about a state of peace from both the effect of the outside craziness, but our inner memories, which can be dark and scary as well? Harmonization, is that a process? Is that a meditation? Is that a practice? How can we I know personally meditation is like a key factor, but how can people get going on this? So we have to bring everybody home now. It's a lot of information you put on us. So we have to bring it home here. Stay with us, folks.
Yes, because some of us make our world very complicated. Gaheng was about simplicity. Some of us, we just make a lot of factors. Like if it's raining out today, you simply grab an umbrella maybe and walk out the door.
Or you need special Gore-Tex booties with gaiters, convertible rain pants, a Gore-Tex coat, a special rain hat with a funky brim that you only use when it's not windy. Water rolls off, the works, you're prepared. Or do you just grab an umbrella?
Well, look how much more complicated you just made a rainy day.
That is the curse of the wood and being a gearhead. But in this instance, I see the craziness of it.
And it's just so funny that you rattled off that list. Like I was thinking rain hat, period. Raincoat, period.
No. No. And if it's cold rain or warm rain, or there's all different temperature factors and wind, what's the wind chill? What's the wind factor? What's the wind shear?
We know which of us is more complicated than the other right now. Okay.
Or I also have 4 umbrellas in my car. So I have a small umbrella, I have a big umbrella, I have a 2-person umbrella, I have a group umbrella, a lot of umbrellas. So I'm ready for anything.
Yes.
That is the curse and the blessing of wood. And like I said,
it is.
And I don't even like the rain.
Yeah. Well, that's
the
evidently
protection.
why.
It's the protection.
Why. So inside, what do we think about things? How many thoughts do you have internally? In both of those cases, is it just simply a rainy day and I'll go get my umbrella? Boom, done, out the door I go.
But what fun is that? But I get your point. Simple is as simple does. Okay, kind of keep it easy. And I'm totally into the umbrella now. I'm just not even going to use my gear anymore. I know it's complicated. I'm just going to grab the umbrella and no more gear. So if anyone wants some gear, check on the website. We'll Give it away. No, I will donate it.
We say that the number 3, which is that harmonization number, or the way that yin and yang interacts all the time, they mitigate each other, one mitigating the other, one giving way to the other constantly. So the number 3 gives birth to the myriad of all things, which is this phrase we use, and we assign it the number 4, and which is associated with time and space. I'm getting very philosophical here. The number 4 is the 4 directions, the 4 seasons.
Okay, now we're getting deeper.
So suddenly we have this
4 foot deeper.
Yes, that's how we get complicated. We have this explosion of 4 foot deeper. Okay, we have this explosion of
It's a thing. You're on the number 4.
We have this explosion of a million things, from 2 things and the interaction of those 2 things to a million things.
Boom! To infinity and beyond. It's throughout the universe.
So our minds are like the number 4, crowded with tons of thoughts. And meditation is about regression, going backwards. How do we take ourselves back to the number 1 from the number 4? To our pure essence, that single constitution, like the day we were born, the number 1, the source, the Tao. Some people call it God, divine.
Okay, that's really interesting. And I really am going to donate all my gear now. We have to go back and take some notes, go through this. I'm getting rid of my gear. I'm just keeping one umbrella. That's it. Nothing else. So you got to really go back to really having simplicity, simple as simple does, and really think about am I overthinking this existence right now? So let's do some homework, because we need to take some notes. You put a lot on us today.
Yes, you can do this at home. In your meditations today, you can watch your mind. Be that watcher we always talk about. And when a thought comes up and you realize you're thinking that thought, simply stop for a moment and examine that thought and ask yourself, what thought generated this thought? And then when you figure out what thought generated that thought, stop again and ask, well, what thought generated that thought generated the other thought?
And then what thought generated that other thinking thought.
So on. I hope you understand this. It's a little confusing.
Keep going.
So keep going until you think you got back to the original
So you
thought.
can also do the whys. It's a kind of like the why.
Yes, we've done that
Ask
before.
yourself. We have an exercise. You do it 10 times. We've done it in the podcast, actually.
Yes. So you're trying to find the original thought that got you on the stream of a million
like the
thoughts.
source thought. Can we call it that? The source thought?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, the source thought. The
Not a sore
source
throat.
thought.
Not a sore throat. Gonna trigger that defense system there. Okay, so it's going back to the ultimate simplicity. Harmony and ease. Harmony and ease.
Go-Hung would be very proud of you.
Yay. Okay, so we're going to bring this into your daily life. Try listening to someone talking. Notice if you start daydreaming while they're talking, obsessively thinking about your thoughts, external thoughts. What's your Wei Qi doing? What's your offensive Qi doing? Are you thinking about arguing? Are you waiting for them to take a breath so you can just jump right in with your thoughts? Are you actually having, we've talked about this too, genuine conversation with someone?
Yeah, pure conversation.
Pure conversation, really being in the moment. Are your thoughts elsewhere, perhaps thinking about the future or the past, or you're worried or you're stressed? Then those worries are turning your Wei Qi into offensive Qi. I want to do a podcast again on the pure conversation, so let's make a note of that. I'm taking that note down.
Yeah. So if you catch yourself doing that, stop and think, what thought generated that thought? And
Go backwards. Yes.
Go back to simplicity. Make it even simpler. Start listening to the person and stop thinking. Really listen.
Really listen. We're going for the ease, peace inside yourself, simple thinking, simple living. The coronavirus has made life feel so complex for so many people, and our worries can begin to stagnate our chi and the blood in our bodies, and stagnation stops things from moving internally, which I know is not good for our health. So it's like if the pandemic doesn't get you laid out, the worrying about it might.
Yes. And this is not just how can we not protect against the virus, but how can we also maintain our optimal health every day, all the time?
All the time. This is what we're talking about. Self-cultivation.
Yes.
That's where the relaxation techniques and the general meditation techniques are almost imperative. It's your inner self-cultivation routines.
Yes.
I can't even get it out fast enough. This is what it's all about.
And we cannot stress enough that all we all need time to self-cultivate, whatever that is for you. What do you know works for you? What is going to help your mind stop obsessing and your body to relax?
You know, you hit it right on the head. We all need time.
Yes.
So you need to find that time for yourself. Start with 15 minutes, start with a half an hour, start with an hour, wherever you are. And if the meditation isn't for you, and there's no one self-cultivation for everyone, you have to find your own mojo there. One of the things I think that helps me is just going out for a run, which I know is not a meditation, but is meditative to get me in that mindset. I'm not thinking about the pandemic. I'm not thinking about, the coronavirus or the COVID. I'm thinking more about in the moment, the very, very moment, my body, feeling the sun on my skin, feeling the air coming in and out of my lungs, trying not to feel the pain in my legs, which is always there. But hey, I'm not thinking about the pandemic. I'm thinking about being in the moment, jumping over that rock, coming around the corner, being alive. And puts me in that state.
Yes. And for me, my, meditation really clears my mind. Sometimes it takes a while and I close my eyes and I'm flooded with all kinds of thoughts that are trying to disturb me. Just like we said, that, myriad of things in my head, but that's okay. You can also try letting them run through you until you can relax and move into a deeper state of being. That's okay too. We want a deeper state of being, one that doesn't engage those thoughts anymore. And even if it's only for a minute, it's a break. Making that break from worry and obsessive thinking is so key to your overall health.
And people need to start where they are. That 1 minute might be awesome.
If you can just achieve 1 minute, that's still better than nothing. Because if you make a break, even for a second, you realize that it's all in your mind. And then your mind isn't ruling you. You can be in charge of yourself, not your negative thoughts.
And that leads to more chi flow, more blood flow, a healthy immune system that's in balance, it's in harmony. And that's the overall health that we're talking about today.
And it's cultivating the spontaneity of life. The spontaneity of your life is associated with your lungs, which can easily let go of those negative thoughts. And then you're free to do what you want. Cue Frozen. Let it go. Let it
go. Yes. And that's when you can truly live with a synchronicity, which is all around you, which is, here we go, Lita, the liver's job,
yes.
Right? Did I get that organ?
Wood.
Yes. Your body and your mind are no longer separate. That is, we could do a whole podcast on that too, okay? Because that is really where it's at for me.
Yeah,
anyways.
If you're struggling at all with this and you're saying, sure, Lita, you can tell me to relax and stop worrying, but that's just talk. I can't do that.
Then we already have a meditation for you ready to go. We've already made it, created it, and we have it for you. It's called Relax Your Body, Clear Your Mind, Open Your Doors. Boom. Yes. It's the perfect meditation for right now when we're all spun out and you're worrying about this virus and sitting at home and worrying. You could also work on the letting go meditation.
Yes. And
those are the two I suggest today.
Yes. Even I have to put it on now and then to calm my mind down during these times. That's why we recorded it, because we don't just talk the talk.
No, we walk the walk. Or we meditate the meditation.
We meditate the meditation.
Okay, we're channeling our inner gahungs right now, and we're trying to share that with you. So just chill and let it all hung out.
And if you want to do the meditation and don't know about our Inspired Action app, you can go to the Apple Store or Google Store to download it for free.
And I think that's a great place to stop for today, to wrap it all up. Remember, change is good. Stay calm. Be in the moment. Breathe. Use those lungs that you've been given this gift of breath. And please be nice and kind to each other out there. We're all in this together.
And resistance to change is futile.
Ah, very good. And that's a nice thought to remember for today. And also, we're all going to get through this. We are going to get through this.
We'll be on the other side soon.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Inspired Action Podcast, and you've reached the end. Woohoo! Woohoo. Why not celebrate a little bit and click that subscribe button right there. We love having you with us on this journey, and we want it to continue.
You can also rate and review this podcast. And if you have already, thank you so much. We read all reviews, and your reviews help other people find this podcast as well. You can also be a part of this podcast yourself by submitting a voice recording message and emailing it to us at lita@inspiredactionpodcast.com or jay@inspiredactionpodcast.com.
And if you want, you can join our Facebook group or follow us on Instagram.
Join us next week for another Inspired Action conversation. And thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening, and remember to hug the dog.